Sunday, May 11th, it's Mom's Day today. Holy cow. Another Mom's Day. Poor Sarah's kidless for Mom's Day. All she has is chickens, horses, cats, and dogs. Another Mom's Day. Hope everybody's having a great Mom's Day out there, all you moms. Hope you do something that makes you feel happy today. Hope you're all doing something that makes you feel good. We're going to ride horses today. What's going to happen here today on Mom's Day? Now, what do we got? We got a lot. What's this? This is a great big email. Get into it in a second. Man, I don't know what's going on. I woke up at 1:30 last night, and then I woke up at 3:30. Stuck a podcast on, listened to some guys I don't know much of. Guys who's been investigating the Vatican. Man. Maybe I'll save that commentary for the end of the video, possibly, but I brought to light about the speaking out loud about the children going missing, all those kids. And when I like to think that, and I have a feeling that we do have the answers, and our gut knows. And my gut was instantly saying something very large and sinister is the culprit. But my gut's been saying it for a long time. And this one investigative guy who's been members of various churches and ousted for investigating the dark things going on. He's done a lot of digging in that podcast. I shared it on the, whatever the section's called on this channel. You know where I can make a post and share shit? It just says posts on my page when I post something. That's what it's called on my end. But anyways, I posted that video up for anybody who's curious. And I got a sinking, sad feeling. I had it since the beginning of where the majority of these children are going, right? There's a lot going on. It's not too good. Pretty dark for a Mom's Day topic, so we'll maybe talk about the end of this video. But anyway, moving along with my mission to make sure that every single frickin' person gets heard, no matter what, and I'm not going to stop. Who would have guessed it would have been 5 years plus? I got no problem with that. Sarah's feeling a little off this morning and yesterday, so she decided we're going to do a week of ivermectin. Just took my shot this morning, and just so you guys know, when I go onto my phone and check out my YouTube app, there's a section there. It's just, as you scroll up, it'll show you a graph of view time and stuff. New subscribers. And every single day someone subscribes here. Every single day new people subscribe to this channel without being asked to. And it can vary like anywhere from 100 to a couple hundred at times, whatever. But I've taken note, there's a pattern. Every single time I say the word ivermectin, and probably a couple other ones, subscriptions instantly go flatline. Like the graph will go up and up and up and then straight line straight down. How weird is that? Right? How weird is that? And take note, the guy in New Brunswick, Sarah knows, got banned for life from Facebook for mentioning the good properties of ivermectin publicly. There's a big dark... Alright, I'll save it. Now let's hear some voices, alright? Let's hear some voices. This email is titled, The Roar That Shook the Ground. Hello, and nice to finally be able to tell you my story. I watch your YouTube videos all the time, and also have a story to tell you. Okay, I'm currently bedbound and disabled from a horrible accident at work. Well, that sucks. I'm 44 years old, and around 2005, I hit a 3,000-pound bull with a semi in Florida. And after I went to a few years of therapy, I was able to get back to work. And then around 4 years ago, I slipped and fell at my job 3 times in 2 days. And due to both accidents compounding, it's got me bedbound and I can't walk. So that's my current situation. That sucks, my man. Lots of people going to be praying for you right now. Guaranteed. So that's my current situation. But back when I was around 21 or 22 years old, I was living in North Florida, in Cottondale, Florida to be exact, and a friend of mine asked me if I wanted to go hunting on a piece of land that his dad owned, and my friend's dad owned a huge piece of land like over 2,000 acres in Compass Lake in the hills, Florida, about 15 to 20 miles from my house. So I remember I had a 30-06 rifle and my friend had a 308 rifle, and we left to go hunting around 4 p.m. this evening, and I remember the drive into the property was all unfamiliar to me. Now, I've hunted in a tract close to this property before, but I still didn't know the layout of this property, and told my friend just before we parked that if we got separated, and that I've never been here before, and I was also worried because I left my truck at my house, and we drove to the property where he was going to hunt in a 2-man tree blind / stand. My friend laughed at me and said, "Nothing to worry about." And he knew the land, and he said I was worried about nothing. Well, he was wrong. We got to where we was parking the truck and had to walk around a little over a solid hour from the truck to the hunting stand. And so as we're walking, I noticed there was literally no animal life around us at all. No birds, no squirrels, no deer tracks, or any sign that life ever lived there. It was just a quiet, almost dead feeling walking into these woods. We walked a fire trail the most of the way back to the hunting stand. So at, around 5:30 p.m., we made it to the stand, and so we climbed up and got settled in. Well, I'm a great thinker and problem solver, so I was sitting there thinking that it was 5:30 p.m., and so it gets dark at around 8 p.m. or so this time of year that we was hunting. So in my head, I did the math and told my friend in a soft voice, so we didn't scare away any of the deer or hogs or anything. I told my friend, "Hey bud, we might want to head out in about an hour or a little over, because I certainly didn't want to walk on a track that I wasn't familiar with back to the truck in the dark." So again, my friend laughed at me and said, "No worries, brother," and that we had plenty of time before we had to leave. So an hour went by, then more time, and so I finally said to my friend, "Look, I'm headed back with or without you, but I'm leaving now." So my friend said, "Okay," and called me a wuss. So we climbed down and headed back to the truck with maybe 30 to 45 minutes left of daylight. So we're about halfway back, or a little closer. And just like that, we had no light at all. It was dark and we didn't bring a flashlight with us. And I remember walking behind my friend when I started smelling a dead or wet dog or animal smell. And it was awful. It would gag a maggot, it smelled so bad. And now around 20 minutes or so from the truck, we were walking on a small trail or fire trail that was getting closer to a little island of trees that sits right in the middle of the trail. And just in front of us, around 50 yards away from us, and as we got closer, this smell got stronger and stronger. But we just put it off as a dead buzzard or a dead skunk. So about 20 yards from the thick island of trees in front of us, and all of a sudden there was a big bang in that little island of trees in front of us. And my friend and myself stopped dead in our tracks. I told my friend, "Hey, what was that?" And he was so scared he couldn't even answer me at all. So I told my friend, "Look, something big is in that island of trees just in front of us. And now how are we getting out of here and back to the truck?" And just as my friend was about to say something, there was a noise I'll never forget. It was a roar that was so loud that the decibels shook the ground around us. So I grabbed my friend and I said, "We have to go, and go now." So we started walking away from the island of trees toward the right-hand side as to stay as far away as possible from the Bigfoot in those thickets of trees. And around 10 steps into it, it started to roar again and hit the trees with a log or something. So to be honest, I'm 250 pounds of muscle and I've been a football athlete all my life, and I've never been scared of anything. But this is different. I know that Bigfoot would rip me and my friend apart with no problems. So to be honest, I dropped my gun and I ran for my life back to the truck. as my friend still had his gun, and he was only 160 pounds wet. And I still made it back to his truck about 2 minutes before he did. And that's saying something because of our sizes that my friend should have beat me back first. And I remember I didn't know this property as well, so when we jumped in the truck, I looked at my friend and I said, I dropped my gun. And let's go, go, go now. So I remember we drove home in less than half the time it should have. And when my friend dropped me off at my house, he said to me, what the F was that? And I told him that he knew what it was. And then I told him I'll never go anywhere near that property again. And my friend said, well, you dropped my dad's prize gun. And that he had to go back and get it. I told him good luck, not to go in the dark, ever. So I never told anyone what happened that night, but the next day my friend showed up at my house and said that he found the gun, but no signs of anything else. I hope you tell my story on your YouTube channel, and please believe me and my story. I got nothing to gain by lying about telling you my story. It's been over 20 years now from the Bigfoot experience I had, and now I'm 44 years old with serious health problems. And felt I have to tell my story, and myself and my friend are lucky to get out of there alive. Please tell my story and please believe me. I got you, man. I believe you. Welcome to the club. It's a shitty thing. I'm not trying to be a dick, but damn, man, you're shitty backup. That sucks. You took me right back to a few times when I've had people, and you know what? Everybody's built differently. I've shared this many times. About how people are built differently. I had a guy one time, Vietnam vet, years ago, guiding him, and we're sneaking in on a grizzly bear that's on an old elk kill, and we can't see it. And I had a 12 gauge with slugs in it, the plug taken out. And this is like this big dick slinging A-type, muscle bound, 200 and a bunch plus pounds. And the guy started crying as we're sneaking in. It didn't want to go anymore, started crying. And I'm just saying, everyone's built different. Doesn't matter and as the original writer knows this, doesn't matter. It don't matter how big you are, right? It's all the fight and the dog. But anyway, another time too, sadly my best friend who's dead now, childhood best friend, same thing. We had a bear coming flying at us from about 30 yards. I didn't have a gun. He threw the gun in the air and started running. And I grabbed the gun. I don't know how it happened, but I got that right-handed rifle. And I shot the shit out of that thing, and it stopped about probably 8 yards in front of me. You could see the smoke coming up out of its fur from the last shot. But anyways, and I remember feeling instant rage that my buddy, back then I was young, and I felt instant rage that he just ran. Ooh, shitty backup. And I used to get mad at people for being like that or doing that and calling them different names. But then as you grow older, you get wiser and you learn, and you realize it's just the way it is. Some of us are built differently, right? A lot of people, you have a car accident or something really bad or traumatic happens. And I don't know, say 10 people are there. 8 of them will stand there with their jaws wide open, frozen. While 2 might keep their shit together and do everything correctly and swiftly from the word go. It's just the way we're built. So I'm just saying, don't come down on the guy. All right? Don't come down on him for what happened. Everybody's built differently. And I'm sorry to hear about your current state. Bedridden, that sucks. I hope you get better quick. And we got you shared. We heard your story, and you're not alone. It's happened to so many people. So many people. Next. So many people. You imagine, with what I've been learning over the years, a lot due to this, of my experience when I was a kid. Because like I said, once you get slapped in the face with this reality, and you have no choice but to accept it as fact and real, and then you start trying to figure out why, what the hell. And one thing I've been realizing this past year, maybe or more, is of all the topics we get slapped in our faces with, and then you start to look at, well, how come we aren't the whys? How comes the whys? Everything seems to be going back to the same tree trunk, meaning when when it first sprouts out of the ground and goes in all these different directions and different rabbit holes, every single one of them seems to be going back to the same source for the answers, and it's not pretty. That's what I've been learning. It's not pretty. It's not pretty. Okay, bite my lip. Get back to more voices. Obviously, my wheels have been turning a lot, as usual. It was paralleling us in the cypress trees. Okay, I'll make this as quick as I can. I have 2 stories to tell. No time limit here. First one happened about 3 years after getting out of the Navy, about 1973. I was hunting in the Atchafalaya Basin, south central Louisiana. Would I have driven through there? My father, myself, and my friend, and a hunting mentor, Frank. Frank was the best hunter and woodsman I've ever, even till today, known. He's part Native American and had a sixth sense about nature, unlike anyone else I've ever known. We were hunting about 1.5 miles from any road. The basin was flooded, and we were hunting in water from 6 inches to 4 feet deep. Frank killed a nice little 4-point buck. My daddy and I went to meet him just about 300 yards away. It was decided that Daddy would take the guns and go out the woods to the truck and wait for Frank and me to float the buck out, which is easier than dragging or poling a deer out. But to do so, we would have to travel through the woods on a different route than Daddy would take us, and would take us a little longer. And as we were floating the deer out, I realized that something was paralleling us on the left of us, about 30 yards away in the thick cypress trees. We were all alone except for Daddy, who was by now at least 500 or 600 yards ahead of us. We had a pole cut about 6 feet long with a rope tied to the middle, and each of us having the pole across our waist. We were walking side by side. I stopped when I heard the footsteps and looked behind us off to the left and saw nothing. When I turned around, Frank was looking at me with an amused look. I asked him, "Do you hear that?" He smiled and said yes, and started walking again. The walking off to the left started again. I stopped again. But when I turned around, I caught a glimpse of black go behind a tree. The problem was the black was up in the tree, not at the water level. I saw water rippling in the swamp, but the black movement was too high to be in the water, I thought. Frank told me, "Let's go, don't worry with him." This confused me. Frank knew him? This time, instead of walking facing the direction we were walking, I turned and walked looking back, at which time I saw a tall black figure passing between the trees. At this time, I started really putting an effort into pulling the buck out. Frank just chuckled and told me that I did not have to worry. Let's just get to the truck. The splashing sound of walking followed on the side of us another 15 to 20 minutes until we arrived at the truck. We loaded the deer, and I turned to tell my dad what had happened. Frank put his hand on my shoulder, looked me in the eyes, and just barely shook his head no. I did not speak of it that day or any day for years, been telling the story only once to some younger hunters who just laughed and gave me the "you full of shit" look. I've not spoken of it again until this email. You're right about one thing for sure. Once you have an experience such as this, the woods are never the same. Years later, maybe 20 or so, I had stayed on my deer stand until dark 30 in the same general area. And that night I heard 3 distinctive loud knocks. And I said to myself at that time, "Damn, I wish I had not heard that," but I had. I left carefully and alertly and went back to my little camp, about 2 miles away. I had a bourbon and said, "This is for you, Frank," as it reminded me of Frank and our time together. But I was not as afraid as the first time, but very aware. Perfect. The result of having knowledge, right? Helpful, honest knowledge. It's awesome. Excuse me. Yeah, well, recently, when was it? Last year? Yeah, last year. At my friend's place in south central Alabama. couple of the guys staying at his camp. One of them, I'm not sure his name, but he was asking me about what do you do on YouTube? What's your YouTube channel you got? And I go, well, there's a couple of them, hunting and fishing, and then I go, you can laugh all you want, but another one's about sharing people's experiences with something running around the woods. And he didn't even flinch. And then he went on to share with me that he was in those swamps, in the water, hunting in Louisiana, and something paralleled him, and he heard the wood knocks. And then, coincidentally, a year later, 2 weeks ago, another young fellow that stays at that camp, my friend's got a bunch of rooms that he rents out to guys that stay there for work. And the other young guy, awesome dude, he came forward and shared with us this year that he doesn't like going in the woods by himself. Not at all. And he's an avid hunter. I'm like, really? I didn't know that. He goes, No, man, even when you guys are coming to pick me up with the tractor, I was like, come on, hurry up and get here. I'm like, really? No way. And he went on to share with us that he had those wood knocks going down, scaring the shit out of him 2 or 3 different times now. There you go. Sparked that little memory. Firsthand, similar share from a friend who grew up hunting in Louisiana. What's this one? Hope it's not a repeat. We'll see. A brave Navy man shares his experience. Hello, Steve. My name is Dave. I'm closing in on 60 years old, and I've lived a pretty interesting life. I've been a hunter since I was old enough to know what end of the gun points downrange. I trapped the streams, marshes, and fields of western PA until I graduated high school in 1978. I've always preferred being outdoors and have hunters, not killers, respect for wildlife. After high school, I joined the U.S. Navy and started my electronics career. Being athletic, loving guns, and knowing how to use them, I loved the rush of a natural high. The Navy was interesting. I quickly realized I didn't want to be on board ships so much, so I looked into the UDT/SEAL program. UDT was dropped in the 80s and became SDV, SEAL Delivery Vehicle, Small Manned Subs. Because I signed up for an advanced electronics on a 6-year hitch, I was not eligible for the SEAL program as they required me to give them my 6 years in electronics, as it was considered an advanced 6-year hitch. After 6 years, I could pursue what I wanted. So, 3 years into my 6-year hitch, I volunteered and was selected to work alongside SEALs in the Small Special Warfare Boat Units, now known as SWCC, Special Warfare Combat Craft. What a rush. I found my place. We trained with them, drank with them, attended some intense training on weapons, attended the SEER training program, Survival, Evasion, Resistance, Escape. Being a hunter-shooter country boy, I excelled on the gun range. M16 open sight, 200-yard qualifications. I received the highest you could get, an expert, twice. A sharpshooter, a 3rd time. Must have been an off day. I was a man in a young man's body. Certified as a diver through PADI by my lieutenant commander, who was a career SEAL. I learned from the best. I tell you my background because it's important for what happened to me. I was alert, paid attention to detail, always able to care for myself, always able to take care of myself. I'm not crazy. I'm not on drugs, drunk, or lying. It's not my nature. And anyone who knows me will tell you that. I honestly consider myself one of the good guys. Modest and not wanting any limelight in anything I did. Although when you do things well, shit just sticks to you. Fast forward to June 2010. I was turning 50 then, and as an avid ATV rider, I invited my best friend, one who joined the Navy with me out of high school. I wanted to ride some groomed trails in the PA forest known as the Allegheny National Forest, ANF. It was a beautiful area of northwest PA, all forest, many whitetails, black bear, some puma, all sorts of small game, and an elk herd just east of the area. claims to be the least inhabited area of its size, east of the Mississippi River. I wanted to take Paul there because he wanted to buy one of my ATVs. I was moving up into bigger equipment, and the two-trail system of the Marionville and the Timberline trails joined together for about an 80-mile loop, a good half a day riding at least. In one area, it gets kind of boring, so you can open them up a bit. That's where we were when an event happened to me that changed my life. We were a few hours into riding, heading back north towards the trailhead where my truck and trailer were parked. We were on the boring part of the trail where it was logging roads and an old gravel road for a few miles. And I told my buddy Paul that I'd meet him ahead, where the trail turns back into the forest. By now, he was familiar with the arrow signs that show you where the legal trail is. I usually don't separate when riding, but my ATV was a 500 at that time and hauled pretty good. I wanted to fly, and Paul was content just riding mellow, taking in the views, which were new to him. I knew we were both safe, so I hauled butt northward on the boring gravel road part of the trail system, and when I reached where the trail turned right, back into the brush and vegetation of the trail, and finally off the gravel road, I pulled over probably 50 yards into the forest. The trail here was through a small forest field. The left was a steep hill. To the right, there was maybe 30 feet from the forest tree line of 2 to 3 foot tall grasses and small sparse brush. No trees until the forest line some 30 feet perpendicular to the trail. It was like that for maybe 70 to 100 yards. Then the trail was right back amongst the trees. In that small field, I brought my ATV to a stop off the left side of the trail, but turned toward the right a bit so that I could watch for Paul. From my parked location, I could see any ATV traffic on the gravel road, and if Paul missed the trail turnoff, I could turn around and go back for him. At this point, let me make this perfectly clear. I was not a Sasquatch enthusiast and could care less for conversations about cryptids. I'd seen the Patterson-Gimlin footage from October 67 as a 7-year-old, and I'm sure I thought a monster existed wherever California was. But that's it. I didn't give the subject any thought, but I was confident that a breeding population surely didn't exist. And after all, I had hunted, camped, and rode trails all over PA, Ohio, and West Virginia. Never had a reason to think otherwise. The second week of June 2010. Here I was in the middle of the old forest of PA, the ANF riding ATVs with my buddy and enjoying the day. The trail still had mud and mud holes, and the tree leaves were still dripping because it poured rain all the night before and up to about 10 a.m. But the sun came out, and it was a perfect riding day. I was happy in my own space. So I was pulled over, waiting for Paul to catch up. I just parked it, took off my helmet, and slung my leg over the seat so I could grab water from my bag, lean against the seat, and enjoy the moment. This was seconds from pulling in and stopping. Then, ping! A rock somewhat smaller than my fist bounced off from somewhere on the right front of my ATV, the fender, the wheel or wheel well. It didn't register for a second because rocks often hit the ATV in riding. It was like a slightly delayed reaction, but it occurred to me that I was parked. Rocks shouldn't be hitting my ATV. Within 10 seconds, another rock came in. It was either that one or a third one that I caught its movement flying through the air out of the corner of my eyes, to my right and behind me, basically where I'd just driven through. Now, this forest had no cabins or camps or human habitation for miles, except the sparse primitive tent camping throughout the forest. But nothing and nobody near where I was at. So I caught sight of this rock coming in and turned quickly to my right, fully expecting some idiot standing there throwing rocks, about to be shot. My eyes were quickly moving to my right, looking for whatever these air rocks were coming from. And about the time my eyes made it to this spot, that in my peripheral vision I thought was a stump or fallen tree, this creature sprang straight up. This was daylight, about 4 p.m., and instantly I knew what this creature wasn't. It wasn't no bear, not even close. I know they have to ask that question in an interview, but really? It was no man. It had no clothes, but it resembled a man, more than a wild creature. This thing was 70 to 90 feet away, some 30 long paces in the open, no obstructions between us, standing up in 2 to 3 foot tall mountain grasses. The grasses came up to just under its knees. It was square to me, staring right at me. It bent its arm at the waist and froze. I looked for rocks in its gigantic hands, and the finger moved. No rocks. I had to have driven right past it. What the hell was I looking at? It was covered with dark black hair, almost bluish from the wet or oily hair, but it looked groomed. Not a mess, all covered in mud and knotted up. It was actually beautiful once you get past the sheer panic of the unknown and the size of the thing. And I had nothing to judge the size except the 2 to 3 foot tall grasses. I wasn't thinking about measuring its size at the moment. No doubt. I'm not sure what I was thinking, but I'm probably... I'm not sure what I was thinking. But I'm probably close to... I think you meant it... But it's probably close to 7.5 to 8 feet tall. Its arms were extremely long, and I did notice that the upper arm seemed massive. The lower arm seemed longer from the elbow down. It had 3 to 5 inch long, very black hair, and massive shoulders. It was wide, very wide. Had no neck, just like witnesses say. I thought it was bent over slightly because of the arm length. The head seemingly without a neck, and the top of its head was different. Is it conical? I'm not sure, but it seemed bent forward. The face was black as well, but I couldn't tell it wasn't hair. I assumed black skin. Its eyes? I'll never forget those huge black sockets. No whites, just black eyes. I now think it must have been shaded out from the brow ridge and the deep-set eyes. I couldn't see great detail in the face, but I could see its lips were closed and went from one side of its face to the other. Thin lips. Flatter nose, but again, no great detail from 80 feet or so. Excuse me. Steve, I've never felt like this, ever. It never gave me a reason to fear it, and thankfully I just froze too. I had my phone, camera, and a .45 in my fender bag, and I never thought about either one. Been there. The stare down lasted maybe 15 seconds, and it was occurring to me what the hell I was witnessing. I've been deployed with SEAL Team 4 and never felt this anxious. Let's call it anxious. In the military, although it may suck and you pray it never happens, when you end up in shitty places, you know it's part of the job. This day, what I was experiencing wasn't a part of anything. A fear came over me, and about the time that was happening, this thing took 3 to 4 steps straight back into the forest, gone. It never took its eyes off me. Never turned around. I never got to see its profile or backside. When it slowly moved, I lost it. I was on that ATV hauling ass, skipping sideways up the trail. As the trail came closer to the thick tree cover, I just kept envisioning this frickin' thing running out of the forest and taking me off the ATV. I couldn't go fast enough. But I never saw it again. I rode about a mile or two up trail to where a big mud hole was, where other riders were hanging out mudding. I stopped my ATV looking behind me when I realized, shit, I need to go back for Paul. Luckily, I didn't have to, as he was pulling up within seconds. I now believe this thing heard him coming, and that's why I stepped back. I never mentioned it to my buddy until 3 to 4 years later, and he said I was acting weird and wanting to load up and head home more than I usually do when riding. So, even though I wasn't hunting, it was June, I never went into the woods with a rifle after that year. Sorry, I never went into the woods, I think he meant without a rifle after that year. I got my 2010 license but never used them, and never renewed my license after. I don't know why. I still camp. I still ride ATVs, and since then I've been researching areas near there. Not as much lately, but the point is, I still go in the woods. Not alone anymore. Every year as the fall gets here, and I smell it in the... Sorry? Every year as the fall gets here, and I smell it in the air. I think of being hunting. I guess I'm still hunting, just differently. People expect me to know about these creatures since I saw one, but I know nothing. Who does? I often say this. I'm dumber now since I've had that encounter because before that, I never had questions. But now my questions are endless. Like, how in the hell don't we know about these things? They get huge. I don't blame folks for their skepticism. That was me once. It took that slap in the face to wake me up. Said everybody, right? Folks also tell me, quote, Dave, I'd love to have that sighting. All I can say is watch what you wish for. It becomes a responsibility. I didn't ask for this to happen. I wasn't out looking for Sasquatch, but there it was, and I can't take it back. It's embedded in my life, and I'm not sure I enjoy living with the knowledge that they absolutely exist. The artist Sibylla Irwin asked to do a witness sketch. I agreed, and what I'm sending you is what I signed off on. The body shot she added to a photo of the ANF almost exactly like the area it happened at. The hair in the head wasn't all combed back, but I couldn't place every hair. The one word I used was groomed, because it had no mud on it. I suspect it cleaned off, rubbing along the wet foliage in the forest that day. It's funny to me because when I've been asked to tell my encounter, there's always that one expert who says Sasquatch doesn't do that. They don't give away their position. I now assume it drew my attention to it because it was too close to young ones. But my response to those so-called experts is, someone forgot to send that SOP to this one because that's exactly what I did. Thanks for your time. Thank you for your interest in the subject. I appreciate your no BS approach. I'm new to your videos, but they are awesome. I'll be subscribing soon for sure. Keep up the support. These damn things are out there, and now I owe it to folks to tell them what I saw. I don't care what anyone thinks. It is what it is, and I can't give it back. Peace. Sincerely, Dave Groves. Dave, welcome to the club. Appreciate you, man. You're a brave, honest man. And your story I completely relate to. Now, I'm going to have to try to find you in my inbox, see if I don't have a drawing attached here with this email, so I'm going to have to search his name in my inboxes and see if I can come up with it. I hope so. Maybe I'll do that right now. One moment. All right. I went into all my inboxes and I checked and did a search for your name. Didn't find it. That sucks. So it's an older email. Who knows where it came from? There's so many sources, right? You guys have emailed me so many places. Anyways, Dave, you're still hanging out here, man. I hope you are. And you want to, send us that photo and we'll share it. Why do they do that? What are they looking for? You know, there's another possibility when you got these large man-like beings, the male side of the gang that we are being aware of. Why is it they do all these confident things until we get our eyes on them? And then you know how, like, I'm just trying to figure out their actions, right, for myself. That's what I do. That's what I've done all my life with all North American big game. And what is it? I still have this feeling, my gut feeling about our eyes, or the eyes of other humans that might not quite be the same as us. Picking up what I'm putting down? So how many times have these people locked eyes on us and don't blink and don't take their eyes off us, even walking away the whole time? Do you know what I mean? Are they chucking rocks at us to get a look at our eyeballs to see who we are? If we are them or the other thems? Who knows, right? Why else? Why else would you sneak in on someone, get their attention, meaning a human being, get their attention, and as soon as that human stares you down, looks back at you, it's like, oh, okay, it's one of them. And then you leave thinking, okay, it's not one of the ones I was thinking it might be. I'm going to keep my eye on their eyes and leave and watch for any change in their eyes. Is that a possibility? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Let's just say there is somebody else, someone amongst us, other people amongst us who aren't quite like us. And maybe this got something, there's a signature in our eyes, or in their eyes. There's a signature, or a warning item, something, whatever, I don't know. Is that what they're looking for when they sneak up on us? Is that what they're trying to figure out? Right? Because there's got to be a reason. There's got to be a freaking reason, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, how many ATVers are around this area that Dave just mentioned? A lot, right? They're on a public trail, road, everything right there. Boom. Here's this dude standing right there, squatting down like they normally do, which makes it real easy for us to go by. I've squatted down and not moved when humans went by me lots of times. It's too easy to fool humans. But why? What are you looking for? Who are you looking for? Who are you trying to avoid? Who are you trying to seek out and find? And you can only get the confirmation by the eyes of the human you were curious of. Right? That's about the only thing right now that sort of can make sense for me as I'm trying to figure out their unpredictable and surprising actions when it comes to us. It just doesn't make sense to me. Right? Things to think about. All right, now one thing I did find was it in the messenger thingy on the phone? Okay, so there's a video a friend of mine sent me from Alberta. Kick-ass horseman hunting guide, 4 years, a year, lifelong hunting guide, I shall say. Worked at the same outfit years ago, and he sent me a video, which I'll share here. And the story goes, shared with his brother. The story goes, a couple guys were hunting cats when they came upon their dogs. One of them was disemboweled, and the other one had its head ripped off. They started glassing the valley and found this thing. It's effing crazy. I believe they said they're in Utah. All right, and then he followed up, gave me another email with some Bigfoot page. Had it on with the spooky shit, whatever. Let's take a look at it right now. All right, so this is the original sent in. It's already hitting the internet. I'll share it. It looks kind of odd. Don't know what it is. Playing with his hair, possibly like a female human, huddled up with a fur coat. Don't know. And that looks like it's through a phone scope on a spotting scope to me. But then there's that weird long reach. So, tone down the exposure. Now let's have another look. Not that big of a body considering the size of the head to the rest of it. It's almost like somebody hunched over. But then there's that weird long reach. That's a weird reach, isn't it? Look how long that reach is, unless it's just tapping a stick, but I don't know. So, zoom in, reverse it on the reach. No, not reversed yet. Let's hold on. Hear a lawnmower in the background. Sarah. Watch the reach. Stick or reach? Reaching with a stick? Or a weird long arm? Don't know. Dunno. But anyways, there you go. Share it. I'm sure it's going to be all over the internet. Everybody's going to be going, is this Bigfoot? I don't know what the hell that is. Who knows? Who knows? Pretty sure it's a phone scope. Phone scope is a thing you can put on your spotting scope when hunting and attach your phone to it to record. Looks like what it is. Like I said, it'd be good to have somebody go there, reduplicate it, right? Dunno. Wasn't there. Looks freaking weird. Definitely does not look massive to me. The head is too big in proportion to everything else to make it seem like a large being. Almost looks like one of those snow monkeys in China, but I'm definitely pretty confident it's not one of those either. So, dunno. There you go. Anybody seen something like that? We'll see. Now, who else? So don't be giving me shit for Sarah mowing the lawn on Mother's Day. She loves mowing the lawn. Don't know why. She loves it. So she's mowing the lawn while I finish up this, and then we're gonna ride the horses. It spoke in a deep voice. First of all, thank you for all you're doing. It makes a difference for those that have had experiences. A friend sent me a link to your YouTube because of a conversation I had with him. I've had 2.5 experiences. I was one of the biggest Bigfoot naysayers until I wasn't. I've spent a fair amount of time in the woods. My dad was an avid outdoorsman and took his family, and I never saw anything as a child, though. But my first experience was with a group of about 7 to 8 people was camping in Tucannon in Dayton, Washington. It was morel mushroom season, and we always went mushroom picking at the end of May. This year in 2012, we got to the end of the road. I hiked in about 3 miles, then up the side of the mountain about 1/4 of a mile. We were picking mushrooms, and I smelled the foulest, pungent, rotten smell. Remember, I didn't believe it before this. I started looking around for an explanation. Then we heard rocks being hit together. Not a rock on the ground being hit by another, but a rock in each hand being hit together 3 times. We all went quiet, and the hair on the back of our neck started standing up. We started picking mushrooms, and it happened again. 3 rock smacks. Now it has our attention. And we were on alert. We were all looking at each other, wondering what to do. When we didn't leave, it started charging down the mountain toward us, breaking branches, large branches, and to me, it sounded like a freight train. We all started running down the mountain. We were quiet all the way back to camp, and this isn't the end either. When we woke up in the morning, all around our campsite, it smelt like condensed urine. And needless to say, I haven't been back to those mountains. The next year, we started going to Little Natchez, Natchez, in Washington State. The first year, we had no experience. However, the next year, 2014, a few of us were exploring new areas to pick mushrooms. We wandered into this area of the woods, and the first thing I noticed is how silent it is. No birds, chipmunks, no insects making noise. Nothing. This had me on alert. Then a friend told me the handheld GPS is messed up, and it said we were going east when we were going west. We thought that was strange also, but we kept alert, and I kept hearing bird calls and branches breaking behind me. Nothing was there. Then a friend saw something about 4 foot quickly walk behind the trees, and at that moment he freaked out, and I fired 2 shots into the stump to scare it away. He looked at me and said, "Let's get out of here." We're walking down the side of the mountain and came across a thicket we couldn't get through, so we would have to walk around it. Once we turned, and then from behind us we heard a deep voice say, "Boom, boom," mimicking the gunshots from earlier. My friend said, "What did you say?" I said I didn't say anything. I believe we were in between a mother and a child. That's a scary place to be. That was the quietest ride home ever. I should mention this encounter happened in the middle of the day, just after noon. My half experience happened when we were hiking and just hanging out in the woods, and out of nowhere, for no reason, the hair on the back of our neck stood up. 5 minutes later, it sounded like someone pulled a large tree out of the ground and toppled it over, breaking it into pieces. It was then time to leave. We started down the mountain and got halfway down, and my friend said, maybe we should tree knock. He got a branch and knocked 3 times, and 2 came back. The whole way down the mountain, it felt like we were being followed. Please feel free to use my name, and I know I didn't see one face to face, but the experiences were real. I have told my story, and it made others feel free to share theirs. Others try to discredit what they do not understand. Thank you for all you do. Charlotte, Dallas. Charlotte, appreciate you. And if you're a mom, happy Mom's Day. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. All right, I'm going to get going. I got to get these horses ready. While Sarah's doing her thing. What else? That's it for emails, all right, you guys? Now, for all you that are looking for answers, the big answers, all the answers, and looking all over the place like I normally do. What do we have so far? We have a lot of whistleblowers coming forward about the Vatican, and I'm not saying everybody associated with the Vatican or the Catholic following is evil. I'm just saying the source of evil around the entire globe, unfortunately, seems to be pointing straight back to the Vatican. No way out of it. Unless you're an ostrich and you love to jam your head in the sand. Right? And ignore what's going on. Kind of like that person whose partner's fooling around on them and they know it, they don't want to say anything. They don't want to face the fact. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people out there that just won't go there. Really? Well, it sucks to be you because many brave people will. And the fact of the matter is, it was the Vatican who was a big motivator in annihilating Melba Ketchum. Why is that? All right. The most wealthiest group of, quote, people or not people in the world. And I have been digging and I have been looking into the Vatican a few times in the past, and the outcome is never good. And then listening to this other man who's dedicated his life into looking into, bravely, shed some light on some topics. Remember I said before, we're gonna bring to light that there's hundreds of thousands of children missing, and I'm pretty certain it's not just a new thing either. Right? It just didn't happen this year with thousands of children going missing. I'm quite certain it's been going on around the planet for a long time, and there's a lot of eyewitnesses in various places who have seen rituals with children. It's pretty gross, it's alarming, it's disgusting, it's real. There's a very dark reality going on around us right now. And sadly, the majority of the humans are too scared shitless to say anything or look into it or speak openly about it. Sad, isn't it? Sad. But anyway, all I'm saying is when you start looking for answers and you start getting a little pissed off that we're just treated like a bunch of frickin' labor slaves and minions, it should make you angry. It should, right? Why are we being misled? Why are we being misinformed? Why are we just treated like we're little breeder bunnies for the cages? What's happened to the kids? Are they being ate? Right? Was it Tulsi Gabbard? Allegedly, I haven't looked into this report, but I read that Tulsi Gabbard has come forward with the fact that endochromin is a very real thing. Right? And apparently they get the higher quality from a terrified child as is getting brutally murdered. Uh-oh, said that out loud. Nobody wants to hear that shit either, right? It's being said too many times. And there's too many indicators that it's factual and it's going down. And the good guy army isn't getting armed to the nuts and storming the doors and killing all the bad guys yet. Why is that? That's frustrating for me. The bad guys are getting away with it in our faces, and they seem to have so much power. How'd they get that power? How did they get that power, you know? They're intimidating all those kick-ass people that are in much higher positions than a majority of us will ever get. Those kick-ass brave people who know what's going down. They know what's going down. They previously know and knew all the dark, dirty shit going down. And they finally got that position where they thought they could make a difference, and now they had their nuts handed to them in a sack. Oh, you made it this far, but as far as you're going to go, you can still play the role, but you're not going to touch us. That's going on. That's frickin' going on. How unfair and how dark and shitty is that? How frustrating was that, right? Still going down. You guys are only allowed so much truth, okay? And if you get closer to exposing us and our lies, well, I don't know, we're really going to screw you over, right? And if a whole bunch of you start to twig into what we're doing, well, we're going to make a real big display for your ass. Something like 9/11, right? Okay, you're not going to listen to us? Watch this. Hold our beer. Done. Now what are you going to do? Right? Almost like you need a good guy army with hundreds of thousands of kick-ass, hardcore people who got nothing to lose and want to fight for the good. Whew. There's a force, right? That's the key, is having nothing to lose. Having nothing to lose but the drive to annihilate the bad. Oh my God, you imagine having an army of those guys and gals? Unstoppable. Anyways, I don't give a shit what faith you are. I really don't care. What I do care about is how much of a coward you may be, or how brave you may be, how honest you are, and how much you really truly care about community, your fellow people, the world, the air you breathe in, the future of your kids. How much do you care about that? Are you willing, no matter what your faith is, are you willing to go look at the dark facts if they are there, and confirm for yourself if it's true or not? And then once you do confirm it, what are you going to do with it now? What are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? I'm a little fired up, as I should be. Everybody should be. They also proved that in the Vatican that when it comes to an adult molesting, forcing sexual moves onto a child isn't, what do they say? How do they quote it? Well, it actually isn't against the law. It's a sin, considered a sin, and you can be forgiven for sin, so it's okay. Yeah. What do you think of that? What do you think of that, and worse, it's happening to children? Hey? What do you think? You got the balls to go look into that? That story, that fact alone right there, you're going to look the other way and keep giving them your money. Anyway, there you go. If you want to hear more into that, if you're brave enough and you want to hear more, see some receipts, check out that video I posted in the posting section of the channel. Check it out. There's no shortage of brave people in the world coming forward. There's just too many frickin' piss-ons, brainwashed, feeding them all their money and supporting them and keeping them going and helping them lie and hide. It's creepy. Anyways, on a brighter note, sorry you guys, but it's just fresh off the press. It frustrates me. Sorry, not sorry. I'm done with the dark, man. I'm so done with the lies, the deceit, how successful it's been on all of us as a whole. So is Ruby. But anyway, here we go. She still has a bunch of these. She's got to go. She's going to do her shipping in the next couple of days if you want some of these suckers. Or she's got the real tree and the mossy oak hats with HTH on them are back in stock in her store. That is, I don't even know what it is. Howdhuntstore.com. It's the link to that is in the bottom of the video description. Okay. Once again, Lucky Loretta won her trail camera. She'll be shipping that to you in a couple days. She said that your name was absolutely familiar. She's got a sharp mind. She always remembers names of people she shipped to because she hand fills out everything from her store to ship out to everybody. So she goes, I remember that name. Really? She goes, yeah, I can find her easy on her mailing address. Perfect. So that'll be going out in a couple days. It is that time of year to be placing your trail cameras if you are a hunter for any ungulate you can come up with. This is the time of year that I hammer on it with the mineral and the cameras. So, and I've started to make videos on how to. I'm going to post on the How to Hunt channel. Excuse me. And the link for your discount for these cameras, which are roughly half the price of those ones that have been thrown away forever, and still the best trail camera I've used to date. The best. They have various different models. And the link for the discount code, if you're going to get some for this fall, is on the website, howtohunt.com. It's on the first page, I believe. Or you look in the top left of the menu, I think is where it says new favorite trail camera. There you go. That's there. And I'll carry on and make sure you get your truth shared, right? I don't give a shit what it is. If you got truth, you got some dark, dirty sons of bitches, you got the receipts and the proof that are having a negative effect on all of us, send it to me. I'm not scared of shit. I'll share it. I'll get a hold of them if you want me to. If I could, if there's a good guy army out there armed to the tits and you want somebody to join you, please come and get me. Please, 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 please come and get me. All right? Please come and get me. I'm all in. I'm all in. I'll go the distance. I'm all in. There you go. Happy Mom's Day to all you moms. Make sure you guys do something you like to do today or tomorrow. Whatever you got, make sure you do something you love to do, all right? And make sure you expose bad people. Don't help them hide. And turn this shit show around globally, all right? Later.